This is the Dave Elliott Show.
And good morning. Another beautiful day in paradise, although I understand from our local weather that we had a little bit of a shower a few minutes ago here in East Naples, about 45 minutes, an hour ago. And we're expecting more to come today. Thunderstorms likely this morning, a chance of scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, high 87. Winds will be out of the west at 10 to 20 miles an hour, and there is an 80% chance of rain. Well, I'd say that's 100% since we did have rain in Naples a little earlier this morning. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, only a 20% chance of rain, high of 89 degrees. And then for Thursday, same deal, about a 20% chance of rain, mainly cloudy, high 89. So that's what's happening outside the window. Today's our best chance of rain, it looks like, for the balance of the work week anyway. Coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking with Chris Carroll in about a half an hour. Chris Carroll is a registered nurse who had a harrowing experience while on vacation in St. Croix in January, and we're going to share that experience with him in just a little while. Also, our good pal Tim Aten from GulfShoreBusiness.com and the Naples Press will be here with his business outlook and, of course, what Tim Aten knows. So that'll all be coming up later in the show today. I know I had originally said we were going to interview Chris on Thursday, but some things have changed and I had to move him to today. So I hope you'll stay with us for that. That'll be in about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, you got me for the next half hour, and I'm going to remind you of a couple of things. It's really easy to click the link that says listen live at daveontheair.com, and that'll connect you right to our YouTube video. If you get to the page and you don't see a thumbnail that looks like a Naples sunset, click the little link that says live, and that will take you not only to the current live streaming show, the show that's on at this very moment as we speak, at 7:03 in the morning, but it will also take you to the archive shows that we've established thus far over the last 2.5 weeks. I can't tell you how important it is for me to thank you for being with us every morning, and if you don't listen to us in the morning live, if you're listening on delay in your car, or on your phone, wherever it might be, I thank you very much for listening. And I hope you will think to share the link with a friend or two of yours, because it's all about listeners that keep this thing going. And we've had over 3,500 views of our shows in the first 2.5 weeks, according to the stats I'm looking at, and that's pretty darn good, I have to say. So let's keep it up, kids. And remember, in the next hour, in the 8 o'clock hour, somebody's going to win a $25 gift certificate to Alice Sweetwater's when we play What the Heck Is It? The song, I'm sorry, not What the Heck Is It? We're going to do that at some point down the road, but it'll be the impossible question. You see, even your genial host has been known to make a few mistakes from time to time. Actually, what I should say is your genial host has been known to get it right from time to time. You can text us or call us if you have something on your mind or something you want us to talk about, or you have a question, whatever, at 305-699-2665. That's area code 305-699-COOL. And we could certainly use a little cool on these warm, sultry summer days, couldn't we? What a day yesterday was. It turned out to be a great day. And I don't know about you, but every day that I wake up and I'm on the right side of the ground, I feel pretty darn good about myself. Some birthdays on this date, July 28th. Bill Bradley, the great basketball player and former U.S. Senator, is 83, and I just saw him on TV not too long ago commenting on the current political stuff. The guy who created Garfield, Jim Davis, is 81. Linda Kelsey, there's a blast from the past. You may not know the name, but if you ever were a fan of the TV show Lou Grant, the show that succeeded the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Linda Kelsey is 80 years old. Dick Ebersol, the TV producer of NBC Sports, and one of the people who at one point was involved with Saturday Night Live, is 79. I believe he's married to Susan St. James, if I'm not mistaken. Sally Struthers is also 79. You know, she was Gloria on All in the Family. Scott Pelley, recently in the news for his acrimony towards CBS News, is 69. Lori Loughlin from Full House, 90210, 62. The president of UFC, Dana White, turns 57 today. Elizabeth Berkley, the actress from Showgirls, who's also in Saved by the Bell, of course, 54. Cain Velasquez, a UFC fighter, professional wrestler, 44. The rapper that I'm sure you all know, Soulja Boy. You don't know him? Well, he's 36. And Nelly Korda, the professional golfer, is 28 years old. Now, if you watched local news last night or read the local paper, you probably saw this. Our esteemed mayor, Teresa Heitman, had her probation added to and was sentenced to 10 days in jail for violation of the probation from her DUI that happened about 2 years ago. When they found just here a couple of months ago, they found that she had tested positive for THC, which of course is the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. She denied that happened, and immediately, upon being taken to court, she went to a doctor and had another THC test done and claimed it showed zip, nada, zilch, zero, no THC in her system. Apparently, the judge, Rob Crown, wasn't buying that story because yesterday she had gone before him to request that she be allowed to travel, and he extended her probation and told her she had to spend, I guess it amounts to 5 weekends in jail for a total of 10 days. She will be there on a work program, and I guess, I've got the, hold on here, I'll tell you, because I've got somebody sent me the copy of the report, and I have it here. Let me just open it, and I'll tell you what it says. She will serve 10 days in the Collier County Jail with credit for all time served since the arrest on this violation. The balance to be served on weekend work and weekend lockdown to start no later than August 10th. And her probation has been extended to May 16th of 2027. So she made a statement to the media as she walked by the cameras yesterday saying, not true or something like that. It didn't happen. It's a shame. I don't know. But what's a shame is that she's still mayor. I'm sorry. I know we are friendly, or we're friendly. Probably not anymore. But it's time for her to quit. She needs to step down and resign and get her act together and let somebody else take over the mayor's job. This is casting a pall over the city of Naples, and I just think it's wrong. I know she believes she didn't do anything wrong, and she maintained for the long. She pled no contest, I believe, to the drunk driving charge. But I think it's time for her to say hasta la vista, baby. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, but Mayor, I think you need to step down. Do you agree or disagree with me on this? 305-699-2665. You can call or text at that number if you want to weigh in on it this morning. Is it time for the mayor, after this most recent court appearance, to call it a career and let somebody else with a fewer bags to carry, if you get my drift, take the job? 305-699-2665. Call or text me at that number and let me know what you think. I frankly was giving her a little bit of slack when this happened. I mean, there but for the grace of God go most of us. I'm sure many of you who listen to me have at one point or another driven your car when you knew you shouldn't have, and you just lucked out it didn't get caught. Or maybe you did get caught and you had to pay the price. Well, I think it's time for her to hang it up. 305-699-2665. Text or call if you agree or disagree on whether the mayor should stay or go. It's 7:12 right now, and I think we just heard from somebody, I don't know who, says, gotta go. Thank you for your comment. I should probably remind you when you text me, just put your first name in the text. It helps me to identify who you are. But I agree, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. An expedition to a remote Pacific island in search of the remains of Amelia Earhart's plane is ready to launch after being delayed for a year. You probably remember we talked about this on the old radio show a couple of months ago, and then I think about a year ago when this thing came up. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello, who covers aviation for the network, announced on Earhart's, or would have been her 129th birthday last week, that a group led by the Archaeological Legacy Institute and Purdue University will commence a mission in October to Nikumaroro Island, which is part of the Pacific island nation of Kiribati. The expedition was initially announced in October of 2025, but was postponed for a year while approvals and permits were obtained from the government of Kiribati. A 16-person team of archaeologists, logistics experts, scuba and safety personnel, filmmakers, and Kiribati representatives will leave Tarawa, Kiribati by boat on October 7th and travel about 830 nautical miles over 6 days to Nikumaroro Island. The expedition will spend multiple days on the island before returning to Tarawa. ALI Executive Director Richard Pettigrew is leading the mission to investigate what is known as the Taraya object, a visual anomaly first spotted on satellite in 2020 in a lagoon off Nikumaroro Island. The expedition looks to determine if the object captured in the images is, in fact, Earhart's Lockheed Electra 10E aircraft. Earhart, you may recall, and her navigator Fred Noonan were famously attempting to circumnavigate the globe when they disappeared on July 2nd, 1937, in a mystery that has pretty much, well, it has remained unsolved for nearly 90 years. The expedition's hypothesis is that Earhart and Noonan landed on the remote Nikumaroro Island between Hawaii and Australia and were stranded after failing to reach their scheduled stop on Howland Island. Human bones were found on Nikumaroro in 1940 and have since disappeared. An expert at the time of their discovery believed they belonged to a middle-aged man. However, University of Tennessee anthropology professor Richard Jantz said on the Today Show about 8 years ago that he believes an analysis shows they are Earhart's remains. The latest mission looks to pin down whether her plane is maybe on the same island. The evidence supporting Nika Maroro hypothesis remains compelling, Pettigrew said in a news release. And the only way to answer this question is to go there, inspect the Taraya object firsthand, and follow the evidence wherever it leads. So maybe, just maybe, they will find Amelia Earhart's plane, and who knows what else. I am completely fascinated with this story. I love these kind of unsolved mysteries, and I think it would be cool if they were able to find the plane and prove that she, in fact, was stranded on the island. Hey, if you're shopping for college dorm essentials, you got to check this out. Even if you're not, maybe you just like to spend a lot of time on the John. Well, moving into your first apartment, maybe, or I don't know, looking for an easy way to save on household basics. There's a deal on Amazon you ought to check out. The Charmin Forever Roll Starter Kit is back down to $19.99. And shoppers loved it so much the last time that it was talked about in the news that hundreds were sold. The kit includes 2 oversized Charmin Forever Rolls, a stainless steel holder designed for small spaces. Since each roll can last up to a month, it's an easy way to stock up on a household necessity while theoretically spending less. At under $20, this is one of those things that isn't flashy but could, I suppose, save you multiple trips to the store during the semester, unless if you're a college student, unless you happen to shop at Costco where you can get, 8 billion rolls of toilet paper for $12 or whatever the number is. If you're looking for one less thing to worry about this school year, if you got kids going off to higher education, the Charmin Forever Starter Roll Kit is currently available for $19.99 at Amazon, but discounts on viral household essentials don't usually last long. The other thing I will tell you is if you put it in your kid's dorm room, the likelihood is it'll be gone in about 2 days because of all the people who will be stealing his giant or her giant roll of toilet paper. Well, the war. It's now 6 months on to a war that everybody, well, not everybody, but that the president said would end in 3 days. 6 months later, it's still happening. Despite killing at least 221 people in dozens of U.S. airstrikes, targeting alleged drug trafficking boats in the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean, there is another war happening, and this one is off the coast of the United States. Donald Trump's administration has reportedly admitted that the attacks haven't slowed the flow of cocaine into this country. So that's 2 fronts that don't seem to be working terribly well. Instead, traffickers are relying on planes hopping across the interior of Central and South America, or using larger boats and sailing close to coastlines where U.S. forces are less likely to strike, according to the Washington Post, who is citing a previously unreported assessment from the Drug Enforcement Administration. American military assets under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have struck at least 67 boats in international waters over the last year, killing at least 221 people on board those cumulative boats. More than 20 people are missing or presumed dead, and there are only 9 known survivors, according to an analysis by The Independent regarding the attacks. The war itself, apparently the Pentagon, that is the Iran war I'm talking about now, the Pentagon has quietly updated its official war casualty database. This happened over the weekend, adding more than 140 wounded service members. the Defense Casualty Analysis System, or the DCAS, also introduced a new casualty category labeled, quote, overseas operations, unquote, for personnel killed and wounded starting July 7th. You notice they're not calling it the Iran war, they're calling it overseas operations. According to the updated database, the official toll for the earlier phase of the Iran-U.S. war, known as Operation Epic Fury, now stands at 14 service members killed and more than 400 wounded in action. These figures have been a point of contention after the Pentagon previously reduced the totals from 18 deaths and 482 wounded that had been recorded just days earlier. Now, this is a kind of a tricky situation. The dispute comes after the collapse of the ceasefire with Iran and the resumption of near-daily airstrikes beginning on July 6th. Analysts and officials have questioned whether casualties from the renewed fighting should be counted separately from Operation Epic Fury, a move that would be unprecedented. And the reason they're citing is, well, it's a different war because there was a ceasefire. No, it's the same conflict. You're just playing with words. The Trump administration is trying to classify the renewed military campaign as separate. The change is tied to the War Powers Act of 1973, which requires the president to end military operations within 60 days unless Congress authorizes an extension. The Trump administration has argued that the April ceasefire with Iran paused the clock on May 1st for the conflict's initial period. The separate casualty count, beginning on July 7th, follows that interpretation. Hogwash. Hogwash, I say. Give us the numbers. Don't pussyfoot around about it. Just tell us what be honest with us. Be straightforward with us. People will either accept it or not, but they're going to figure it out. And poor actors. They are being cloned and replaced in movies. I mean, what would it feel like if an AI version of you walked into the office and took your job and the people at the office said, don't need you anymore? Well, that happenstance occurred facing actor Ashley Belote when she became an AI-generated remake of a series. She came across an AI-generated remake of a series she had starred in. Last year, Belote played the lead in a thing called I Hate the Way I Love You, a microdrama released by the app Mobo Reels about a young couple whose future is shattered by a cancer diagnosis. She was shocked to discover a few months later that a series with the same plot appeared on the same app. The AI-generated actor in her role appeared younger and kind of glammed up a little bit with longer hair and a plunging neckline, but mimicked Belote's movements and had a voice that sounded strangely like hers. Belote told Business Insider it felt like an affront to the personal experience she'd drawn on for the role as a nurse. This is now the actor, not the character, who worked in oncology and faced cancer in her personal life. She said, being an actor is a very vulnerable thing. It requires us to live private moments in public. If there's a lack of trust of who we're working for, not only does it prevent us from giving something good to the viewer, but it takes away the reason that we do this, she went on to say. Belote said that through her manager, she'd been reaching out to the app, hoping to have the AI version of the show removed or get compensation. So far, the AI agent has not responded, however. Belote's experience, not an isolated one, I've never heard of this before. The U.S. microdrama industry, microdrama, is a $1.4 billion deal. And they have really jumped on this AI thing. Several other actors and producers said their on-screen work had been remixed into AI versions without their acknowledgement knowledge or consent. It's part of a wider trend of AI roiling various aspects of the industry. Industry Business Insider previously reported that some microdrama apps had switched productions to synthetic actors after casting originally humans and had used AI to make misleading sexualized promos as they fought to attract new viewers. These short-term series designed for mobile viewing, also called verticals because you look at them on your phone when you're holding it up and down and not sideways, had been a rare bright spot for actors amid a years-long slump in film and TV production. Well, now these actors have to consider whether their own work helped to make their potential AI replacements a thing. So who knows, you may walk into the office and find that your clone, your AI version, has clocked in on your behalf. I told you I have days when I like AI and days when I don't like AI, and today is one of those don't like AI days. A traveling horror circus filled with sinister clowns, aerialists, and even chainsaws is headed to Kissimmee. I don't know if I'd want to go to this or not. The Fear Circus Unleashed will perform at 8:30 p.m. September 16th at Osceola Heritage Park. It's a 90-minute production. Apparently, I'm looking at pictures of it. The clowns are all the kind of clowns that will scare you to death. It's a 90-minute production, combines immersive theater with aerial acrobatics, contortionists, and other live circus performances presented in a horror setting. Organizers said performers will move through the audience as aerialists perform above the stage and chainsaw effects add to the atmosphere. I've always said if you want a good clown show, you need a chainsaw. Children younger than 13 will not be admitted, and if you're between 13 and 17, you have to attend with an adult. The Fear Circus. To which I say, why not? Why not? And I'm not sure what's going on here, but Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise's daughter has stopped using her dad's last name. She's 20 now. Man, I remember when she was born. Her name at birth was Surrey Cruise. She now uses her mother's middle name as her surname, legally going by Surrey Noel, according to Pennsylvania voter records that USA Today got their hands on. How would USA Today know to go to Pennsylvania to look up Surrey Cruise's voter records? USA Today reached out for representatives from Holmes and Cruz for comment. Reports of Noel dropping her father's last name in public, including in her high school graduation, date back to 1924, although it's unclear when she legally changed her name. You may remember that Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes were a real thing. He's now 64, she's 47, so that's a 17-year age difference. They were married from November of 2006 to 2012. Noel was born on April 18, 2006, exactly a year after her parents' first date. Surrey Cruise, if you're going to send her a card congratulating her, her new name is now Surrey Noel. You're welcome. Before we take a break and talk with Chris Carroll about the harrowing shark attack he was a part of, I want to tell you this. The internet is asking, guys, how did you find out she was cheating? And here are some of the answers from the internet. The ex-wife wanted a divorce for the dumbest reasons, one guy said. So I got suspicious and checked her purse. I found a little score sheet for mini golf with her name and a man's name. then saw she was logged into her email on my laptop and found the rest of the evidence going 8 months back. I would have to say that this woman wanted to be caught. Those are too many things to be an accident. Another guy said when he found out how he found out she was cheating, she accidentally sent me a voice memo talking about it. She meant to send it to her best friend. Yep, that's a good way to tell. Another one said the guy she was cheating with would poop in our toilet and wouldn't flush. My wife wasn't physically capable of leaving stuff like that. Well, that's a good one. And finally, one guy said, she told me she was staying at our friend's after a few too many drinks. Her girlfriend tried to confirm the story, but my girlfriend's partner, my friend, came over, sat me down, and told me she, didn't stay with him. So if you're going to be cheating, at least be smart about it and try to cover your tracks in a convincing way. All right, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to tell you the story of Chris Carroll and his recent vacation to St. Croix. You won't want to miss it. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this.
You've got Dave Elliott.
Hello, this is Melissa Blazier, your Collier County Supervisor of Elections, with an important message about the primary election. All vote-by-mail ballot requests from previous years have expired, and voters who wish to vote by mail in 2026 must renew their request. The deadline to request a ballot for this upcoming election is 5 p.m. on August 6th. Please visit colliervotes.gov or call 239-252-8683, 239-252-8683 to request your ballot today.
And a minute out for Alice Sweetwater's. You know, it's sizzling summer out there. You can tell just by looking at the steam on the windows in the morning. But Alice Sweetwater's has summer sizzling lunch specials just for you every day from 11 to 4. Mondays, the Smash Burger Beach Break for $12. Tuesday, it's Taco Tuesday for $12. Wednesday, the Dockside Duo, which is my favorite. 3 chicken fingers, 3 fried shrimp served with golden fries, $12. And Thursday, the classic French dip. You'll love it. Don't forget Fridays, the local catch lunch. And don't forget Alice Sweetwater's for dinner and snacks and everything in between. It's Alice Sweetwater's, my favorite place to eat, and yours too, I'm sure. At the corner of Glades Boulevard and Airport Road, diagonally across from the East Naples Home Depot, Alice Sweetwater's, where they serve crabs, shrimps, and big people.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
He's not really old. He's 45, plus shipping and handling. Dave Elliott.
Okay, thank you for joining us this morning. We're here until, about 8:45, 10 minutes to 9, something like that. When we're done, we're basically done. And I want to thank you for taking time out to be with us this morning. A reminder, you can find us by going to daveontheair.com. click the Listen Live link, and that'll take you right to our live stream. And the link below that will take you to the archive of our previous shows. Well, Chris Carroll is a highly experienced registered nurse with 35 years in the field, including 22 years specializing in cardiothoracic surgery and leadership roles. He and his wife recently took a vacation, and they had a harrowing experience. So I invited Chris to come on the show and talk to us about it. Chris, what happened?
Thank you, Dave. My wife and I were on vacation in January. We were celebrating our wedding anniversary. We had heard really good things about St. Croix. So we had flown in, and gotten settled in the hotel the first night, kind of walked the beach a little bit, had dinner, and then went to bed. The next day, I was out on the balcony, and we could hear a little bit of the bustle of the hotel beach and drinks being made, that kind of thing. And then suddenly all of that changed. All of a sudden there was a really, it became loud. People were shouting. The volume went way up, and I knew something had changed, and I knew something was happening. But I wasn't perfectly sure what. And then as it got louder, I made out one voice saying, "Oh my God, where are the lifeguards?"
Jeez.
And when I heard that, I knew there was some kind of, water emergency going on. And a thought raced right through my head, which is, this is the rural Caribbean. There are no lifeguards. There's no water patrol on this beach. So I immediately thought, somebody's in trouble. I had been a lifeguard when I was 16, 17, trained with the American Red Cross, and I knew I might be able to help. So I jumped up, knocked on the bathroom door, and I told my wife I was going down to the beach. And I ran down the flights of stairs and started running across the property towards the beach. And about midway through that run, that shouting just turned into screams unlike anything I'd ever heard. It was just screams of pure terror, many voices. So I knew something really bad was happening. So I started sprinting and, jumped over the seawall, started running down the beach, and I started scanning for, where the trouble was. I looked in the water and I didn't see anybody, but there were lots and lots of people on the beach. And as I was running, this one woman was pointing out to sea with her hand over her mouth. And I followed her pointing, and I saw someone out in the water. I could see one hand slapping ineffectively at the water. I watched their head go under. I watched that slapping again, and I immediately, kind of made the assessment that this person's not swimming effectively, they're drowning. And I kind of looked at the distance and I went, okay, I can swim that far, and I'm going. And so I ran and I dove in and started swimming out to them.
What did you find when you got there?
Training has a remarkable way of just coming back to you out of nowhere. And so 4 decades ago, the lifeguard training was still, in there somewhere. And so I remembered hey, swim with your head down. Every 6th stroke, pull hard, pop up, spot the victim, correct your direction, and start swimming again. And just keep, doing that till you reach the victim. So I repeated that sequence, multiple times. And then as I'm swimming, I remembered hey, make sure you stop at least 6 feet away so they can't grab you, and prepare to defend, because a drowning person might, try and push you straight under just to get a single breath. And so I, on that last kind of spot, when I guessed I was about that far away, I stopped and I went into the back pedal, the defensive position. I just said, "Hey, are you okay?" And when I, kind of shook the water out of my eyes, I saw that the victim was in a circle of just crimson red in the water, and I immediately realized it was blood. And that's when like this huge shock of fear went through me, like, hey, this isn't a drowning, this is a shark attack. So
What was
I,
going through your mind besides that at that moment? Were you fearful, or was there adrenaline?
well, I was most definitely adrenalinized. But like on the way out, like I was pretty rational. Like, I mean, my mind was just, I mean, I can only describe it this way. It's like having a divided brain where there's one side of your brain, the emotional side, that suddenly experiences shock and fear and and wants to freeze, and then the other side is quiet and relying on your training and just quietly telling you exactly what step you need, what next step you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely shocked, and then so I started looking for injury. So I figured, like a lot of times a shark attack is a bite on the leg. So I immediately looked down into the water, and the water was clear enough that I could see both legs, and they were moving. And I'm like, so I looked back up, and that's when I saw the injury. Like, so the victim's left arm was completely gone, and all the way up, extending into the shoulder.
Wow.
And so, I froze for a second, and, I had the realization, like, this is not a drowning. This is a shark attack. This is not some minor like investigation bite. Like, this shark has hit and is intending to feed. And it's a big shark, because that wound is huge. So I mean, honestly, like I was just frozen in terror for a couple of seconds. And then I just decided to commit. And so I grabbed the good arm and spun her around into a rescue tow. I saw that it was a woman, that she had blonde hair, and I spun her around and put her in the rescue tow, and started swimming back as hard as I could.
The shark was still there, or was the shark gone?
I never saw the shark. The progression of like the noise on the beach was the sudden shouting from everybody was like this shark came up probably out of deep water and was cruising across the reef, and everyone saw the shark fins in the water, and that's what caused everybody to start shouting and telling everyone to get out. The sudden escalation to screaming was the victim, but also everyone else on the beach saw the shark hit her. And so it was just like, their screams of horror, that like, watching this shark hit. So that was kind of what was going on.
Did you get
So I
her
never
to,
saw
were
the
you able to get her to shore then?
Yes. So I put her into the tow position. I started, and so that's a slow swim, because you only get one arm pull and one kick.
That's
and
like
so,
doing a side stroke.
Yeah,
You were
exactly.
doing a cross chest carry?
Yes, cross chest carry, side stroke.
Mhm.
And the drag the victim creates, it really slows you down. So I was swimming as hard as I could, and I said, you're going to be okay. We're going to get you to the beach. I'm going to get you to the hospital. Just trying to keep her conscious and awake. And she was responding to me during the swim. So, and then at the same time, like that other part of my brain is just going like, the shark's going to hit you. The shark's going to hit you. What are you going to do if you see it coming? So I just kept moving, just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And then I started to really red line. Like I started getting exhausted. And then as I got closer to the beach, like I started to hear voices. And so I knew I was getting close. Once we hit the shallows, a bunch of other beachgoers came off the beach and kind of grabbed onto her and started pulling her towards the beach. So at that point, like I was kind of gasping, because I was swimming as hard as I could. And in their urge to get her to the beach, like they forgot about me, and they pulled her right over top of me and kind of like pushed me down.
Wow.
And so now I'm trying to hold my breath at being at probably maximum heart rate. And, I very nearly drowned right there in the last couple of feet, which is ironic. Once everybody passed over, then I was able to come up and get a breath. And So we were kind of like in standing depth water, and we were walking her into the beach. And there's this big piece of limestone in front of us, and people were just dragging her straight towards it. And I didn't want her to get all torn up on that, so I said, hey, don't drag her over the rock. Like wait for the next wave, and we're gonna float her over the rock, and then we're gonna lift. And everybody did that, and we got her up onto the sand.
And then I imagine your medical training kicked in at that point, and you began to assess for injuries.
Yeah. So as we were walking in, I was assessing, and I was shouting for a tourniquet or something to make a tourniquet. I said, we need something to make a tourniquet. And once we got her up onto the stand, yeah. So I first, checked that she was still conscious and breathing. I asked her if she could hear me, and she said yes. And then started looking. And so, yeah, I mean, the devastating injury to the left arm, there were like a series of tooth slashes across the left chest. So just a really big bite radius. And somebody handed me a long black nylon strap from a beach bag, and I threaded that under her arm or shoulder, and tried to find a way to, started tightening it for a tourniquet. And then I realized, my nurse training looked at it and said, this is too high. You can't. A tourniquet's not going to work here. You need to use direct pressure. So I pulled the strap out, and then started thinking about, direct pressure, and then further assessing. And then, like, the really alarming realization came that the wounds were not bleeding at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, I knew right there that she had lost the majority of her blood volume in the water, and that she was, her vessels were clamping down, trying to save the heart and the brain. And her lips were like really anemically pale. So I asked, there's a woman. I asked her to like raise her legs up in the air, put her legs on your chest and hold them up, just trying to shift whatever blood volume from the legs into the chest. There were a lot of people around, and there was kind of competition. Like, somebody started yelling, "No, you need to put her in the recovery position." And I'm an EMT, like, we need to bandage that. And I just realized that, nothing was going to save her except in immediate transport and getting a blood transfusion, getting IV fluids. So I just kind of shouted, like, "Hey, I'm a nurse, and I'm going to be in charge until, we get her out of here. We need to get her out of here now." And I could hear the ambulance siren. The ambulance was there really quickly, because I think people had called kind of right after the initial incident. Like,
strike,
when they saw the strike, somebody called 911, which is great. So the medics were right there, and then the lead medic came running over, and I said, "This is a shark attack. She's lost her left arm. We've got to get her out of here right now. That's the only thing that's going to save her." And he said, "Okay." And then they ran over with a backboard, and we kind of rolled her back down onto the board and started securing her. And then, like, 6 of us kind of just grabbed the backboard and started, kind of trotting through the sand to the ambulance. So I was just talking to the lead medic and just saying, "Hey, listen, like, she's lost a lot of blood. You need to start 2 large bore IVs. You need to give her everything you have in terms of IV fluids, and radio ahead and tell the hospital to be ready for a mass transfusion." He was like, yeah, we'll do that. And then we got her to the ambulance, put her on the stretcher, and loaded her up. And then the doors shut, and it was in their hands.
Talk to me about how you felt after the adrenaline rush wore off.
I think I was, like, really highly adrenalinized. Like, I was feeling numb, like almost out of body, and people were talking to me, and I couldn't hear them. And I, just started walking back towards the hotel, and I just walked into this grove of trees, and I kind of realized, like, I was shaking uncontrollably. So I stopped, and I just kind of kneeled down to try and catch my breath and compose myself. Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of numb with shock of everything that I had just witnessed and been a part of.
Did the young woman survive?
No, she did not. would find that out later. So, I just started walking towards the hotel, and, I found my t-shirt and my flip-flops on the way back. I had thrown them in the sand, and then someone handed me my glasses and said, like, "Great job, man." And, I just kind of nodded and walked back. And once I got back to the hotel beach, my wife was standing there, and she had no idea what was going on. So I just walked up, and she said, "Hey, what was all the commotion going on down there?" And I think I just said shark attack. And, she was immediately like shocked and worried.
And then I understand you had a moment where you connected with the victim's family.
So I was sitting on the seawall with my wife, for a minute, just trying to calm down. And so that woman's name was Arlene Lillis. Arlene was the same age as me. She was a hospital pharmacist, also in healthcare, back in Minnesota. And she had a husband and children, and was greatly loved by everyone that knew her. Her and her husband owned a property on St. Croix, and that was their way of escaping Minnesota winters. They would go down. They had just arrived in town like a day or two before, and just wanted to go to their favorite beach and go snorkeling. And so I got a phone call from Arlene's daughter, and I was just really struck by the conversation, because they had gotten my phone number from the Virgin Island police, which I was fine with. But she started out the conversation with, "Hey, I heard about what you did, and I just want to ask if you're okay. I know you probably went through a lot, and I just want to make sure that you're doing all right." And that just moved me incredibly, nearly to tears. I mean, like, the grace that her family was able to show in that moment was just truly outstanding. To express concern about me when they had just lost their mother or their wife, and to be able to offer that kind of grace to me was just, incredibly moving.
What are your takeaways from everything that happened from the moment you first heard the screams to meeting her parents?
Like, so there was news media following me around. Like, they were showing up at the hotel, they were showing up at the dive shop I was diving from. And one thing that I found a little frustrating was that they all wanted to hear the the shark story and the rescue story, but they didn't want to, they kind of cut out the part at the end where like my entire life has been, shaped by moral lessons. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was a Boy Scout. I learned first aid in the Boy Scouts. I learned, I wanted to be a lifeguard. I wanted to be someone who could help other people and help ease suffering. And that's ultimately what led me to become a nurse. And then my years of nursing, like, I don't know, like, I mean, just like not going was like, not making the swim was just not even on the agenda for me. Like, I had the skills to do it, and I had the fitness level, and I had the will. But then, the real moment when I realized the actual danger and the fear and the hesitation, like making that commitment, I don't know, it just happened in my heart. I didn't even, it wasn't something I rationally considered in that moment.
The family obviously understands the sacrifice that you made, and not to mention the fact that their beloved was killed by a shark, but you did what you had to do. And I think you would have done that under any circumstances. I can tell you right now, you're a better man than I, Chris. I would not have been able to do that. It's just, I would have been too fearful. And I think that it's remarkable what you pulled off.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. It was a harrowing story. I should probably tell our listeners that you're also currently serving as the Director of Surgical Services at the Catheterization Laboratory at Common Spirit Holy Cross Hospital, Mountain Point. And where is that exactly?
That is in Lehi, Utah, right next to Point of the Mountain.
Oh, how beautiful. Well, thank you for telling your story and for your humility and for the incredible strength of will it took for you to do this. I know that other people are going to be inspired by your story, and I can't thank you enough for sharing it with us this morning.
Yeah, if anything, I want people to, be moved to see the human being in front of them in their moment of greatest need, and to cross that distance and help.
Well, thank you again for telling us about this incredible journey that you've been on, and I suspect the journey is not yet over.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dave.
And let me just tell you a couple of things that we didn't cover in our conversation. Chris did all this, and he's 56 years old. Now, that is a remarkable feat for even a 20-year-old who's in tip-top shape, but he's 56, and he did all of that. Somebody just sent me a text here and wanted to know if people are listening on Alexa. I don't believe we are on Alexa. In fact, I know we're not. The best way to get us is to go to daveontheair.com, click the Listen Live link, and then listen that way. And then if you want to, you can drag that link off to your desktop, and then you just click it when it's 7 o'clock or whenever you tune in, and you can pick us up that way. Coming up, Tim Aten will be here with what he knows, and boy, does he know a lot. I'm here to tell you right now. I don't know if he has this story or not, so I'm going to share it with you this morning. Visitors to Burger King may soon notice several changes inspired by updates and that the customers of the fast food chain said they wanted. Earlier this year, said a Burger King representative, we opened our phone lines and invited people to share their honest feedback, and they did. One of the biggest takeaways was that our guests want to feel welcome when they walk in, know their order will be made the way they asked, and have confidence that if something isn't right, we'll make it right. Burger King said the initiative generated thousands of customer phone calls and text messages. 4 months later, the company is introducing 2 strategies aimed at improving customer service and order accuracy. The Your Way Champion is a reimagined restaurant manager role designed to empower restaurant leaders and put the guest experience first, Burger King announced in a news release. The champion will wear a dedicated uniform and will serve as a point person for customers, overseeing order customization and satisfaction. So they're actually adding a manager who is customer focused and wants to deal with all of your needs. The Whopper guarantee promises that if a Whopper, Burger King's signature hamburger, doesn't meet a customer's expectations, the brand will not only continue to remake it on the spot, but they'll offer the guests the next Whopper free of charge. I make the same guarantee with this show. If we don't make it right the first time, tune in tomorrow and we'll try to make it right, and you don't have to pay anything extra for it. How does that sound? I'm just asking. All right, it's 8 o'clock, and when we come back, we'll check in with Tim Aten. Be ready.
You've got Dave Elliott.
I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about your hearing, and especially if you are experiencing hearing problems or you've noticed recently that your hearing just isn't as acute as it used to be. Well, the folks at Naples Audiology and Hearing Center can take care of that for you. My friend, audiologist and owner Christine Peacock, and her entire staff are dedicated to one thing and one thing only. And no, it's not the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies you'll find every day when you walk in, but it's your hearing. If you wear cochlear implants, they can help you with that. If you wear hearing aids, they can help you tune them up or get them repaired if they're under warranty. Or if you need to be replacing them, they can help you with that too. At Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, they are the experts. They've been around a long time, and it's not this one-size-fits-all thing with them because everybody's hearing concerns are unique. Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, online at napleshearingcenter.com, or call them at 239-434-2434 and tell them you heard about it on the Dave Elliott Show.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. Talk to someone if you're struggling with mental health, because most people out here really care. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
He's always worn a mask to conceal his secret identity. Dave Elliott.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time and attention to the matter at hand, which is the Dave Elliott Show. And I'm always happy when I can have the Dave Elliott singers sing the following.
On Tuesday, and as Naples grows, let's find out what Tim Aten knows. What Tim Aten knows.
One of these days, I'm going to hit that thing at the beginning. I don't know what's my problem is, Tim. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I have been getting all kinds of people wanting to know all kinds of stuff about what you know. And a lot of it has to do with the new Whole Foods that you talked to us about months ago on this show that is going to be coming to Davis Boulevard in Santa Barbara. I guess there's an update on that.
Yeah, well, a little bit. The one of the daily newspaper had a so-called exclusive, which really didn't add any more information than what I had reported in February. But that the Whole Foods is planned. They just had the confirmation from Amazon, which of course owns Whole Foods. But I already had it. You know, it was confirmed when I wrote about it initially.
Yeah.
With 3 sources off the record. So and I had the development plans, just not specifically mentioning Whole Foods. Even though I mentioned Whole Foods, I was confident enough that Whole Foods was coming there, so I reported it that way. My headline was Whole Foods plan for East Naples Corner. So, and that is the southeast corner of Davis and Santa Barbara. What I've noticed changed, which they didn't report, but I'll be doing another update, is that when I first reported, I had that the Whole Foods store was going to be immediately west of the Boys and Girls Club of Collier County, and the retail part of the development still will be immediately east of the Boys and Girls Club, and they will be sharing the drive off of Davis into that development. The Whole Food store, which would have initially was planned right next to Boys and Girls Club, now has been moved to the corner. So, and what it was before, there was the Whole Food store, then there was a retail strip that would have kind of jutted out to the corner. Now it's reversed. So the retail strip starts at the Boys and Girls Club, and the Whole Food store will be on the hard corner.
I see.
That's again the southeast corner of Davis and Santa Barbara.
And when?
So because
go ahead.
Well, and that's the main change, and then the other change is that there's a name now that has popped up for the master plan unit development there. It used to be Tararino, and now it's Vitano, Vitano will be the name of that center. Like we have Mercado where the Whole Foods is today. This will be Vitano, where Whole Foods will be in this center. And so you'll see the name, and you'll start seeing that name. Eventually, everybody will know that name.
Yeah.
Just like they know the name of other shopping centers. So Vitano, this is the first time you're hearing it. And that property, it still has some hoops to jump through before we're seeing any kind of construction plans. Like right now, there's nothing as far as construction goes for this yet. It's still in development, planning stages, very early development. And what it still has to do, it has to be rezoned to allow what they want to do. Currently, they can do quite a bit on that property. They're allowed to develop up to 131,000 square feet of retail, 130 some square feet of medical professional office space, and 478 dwelling units, they're calling them. But the currently it's allowed there, they can have 278 multifamily units and 200 single family or multifamily units is the way they're wording it. And what was proposed, they want to amend, and this is why it has to go in, there needs to be more government involved before this can happen. So you'll be seeing it pop up at a planning commission or county commission meetings. So that hasn't happened yet. So it cannot move forward. But their proposal is to amend what is called the MPUD, the Master Plan Unit Development, to allow an alternate development scenario that would actually cut back on the retail. So instead of 130 some thousand, it would be 100,000 square feet of retail, medical, office. And actually it's even more than that, because they were allowed to have 131,000, I think, with both of those. So they're talking about 100,000 square feet of retail and office space. And then they want to increase the dwelling units. So the residential units will be 622 units, which will be, their plan is divided up with 522 multifamily and 100 single family or kind of units. And I think they're looking at townhomes for those. So anyway, so that still has to happen. That still would have to be approved. That's still a proposal for that tract. And it's quite extensive. The acreage runs along from that corner down Santa Barbara, and then the main residential part of it actually juts out way out beneath, so south of Ferrano and the Boys and Girls Club and the Domestic Animal Service building. That residential will jut out way out that way. It's like a slender leg that will jut out, and it will have a huge nature preserve that will separate it from what else is down there. And there'll be a lot of, in fact, this development, I think I noted before, is really conscious of the natural environment that it's, the space that it's not using, which is a sizable number of acres that will be used for, they'll have like a jogging trail and things like that, that it'll wrap around the whole place. So,
well, it seems like they have really put a lot of thought into this, and what I can tell you is that there is a lot of excitement in East Naples about this development occurring.
Oh
So
yeah, people are excited about it, and as we reported before, we've known for years that Whole Foods wanted to do another location in Collier County because they initially were going to go where the
downtown.
St. George, where St. George and the Dragon was, which is now the Avenue development. They wanted to do the Whole Foods there and the Restoration Hardware there, and the city pretty much spiked it because of traffic. And so both those developments moved elsewhere. Restoration Hardware now is being built at Waterside Shops, and now the Whole Foods is planned for this location. So, but again, there's not development plans yet. I still have not found a document that lists Whole Foods as coming there. But like I said, I have independently had it confirmed with 3 different sources that Whole Foods is coming to that location, and there obviously is what they're calling Tenant A, which is a 30,000 square foot space. The main tenant in that, the Toronto development will be Whole Foods. So it just still has to, there still has to be some different things approved before that can move forward.
Just a couple of thoughts. Traffic. It's going to really increase traffic in the Davis, Santa Barbara area, which is already, pretty not overly taxing yet, but it will be a significant increase in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question I have is, based on what you've just said, it doesn't look like this is happening like a week from Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah, it still would have to be put on the agenda, and as far as I know, I don't think that it has happened yet. And so it'll probably go first to the Planning Commission and then to the County Commission. So that would have to happen before they would be approved for the building.
But this is just another example of the kinds of investments that people are making in Naples and Collier County. I mean, we hear a lot about Sarasota and the things that are happening up there, and there certainly is a lot of movement up in Sarasota and Sarasota County. They're having a huge growth spurt, commercial and residential, like we are. But we are rapidly hitting the map as the place to find entertainment, food, and jobs for that matter, because these businesses all hire people. Now they're not going to be the highest paying jobs in the world, but they will definitely be employment. I also see that Mickle Bob's is planning an expansion.
Yeah, it's returning to North Naples years ago, and I think it was as long as it might have been right when you first came, Dave, or so. It was, I think it was at least 25 years ago. They had a location up where Sushi Thai is today at 103rd Avenue and 41, so in the Naples Park area, and that only lasted a couple of years, as far as I could tell, and they since have a takeout only location, which they've had for years on Marco Island. But this will be another sit down type restaurant, larger than what's on Marco, but not as large as the initial Mickle Bob's, which is on Airport, pulling, right across from Naples Airport. So this one, still will have, I think it was 60 some seats, and so the Mickle Bob's brand, which has been around since 1979. So it is one of the longest running restaurants in the Naples area. So that will be expanded up to the site is just north of the Mercedes-Benz of Bonita Springs, it's called, even though it's in North Naples. People still think that's Bonita Springs. That is not. It's there will be in the Tamiami Square shopping center, where the Pewter Mug is, and Oh My Chinese restaurant. And so it will be in a space that used to be Aroma Indian cuisine. There's not signage yet. In fact, it still has the signage of Aroma, but that is will change rapidly, and they're hoping to still open before the end of the summer. To get that going. So yeah, it'll be a new location for Mickle Bob's.
My wife was reading about in your column last night, I think it was, or some story about real estate in Naples, and you got a letter from somebody, I think, who was indicating how slow things were. Crickets,
Yeah.
I believe, was the word that was used.
Yes.
And my wife is in the title business. She owns Alpha Title Services of Florida. She has never been busier than she is right now this summer doing real estate closings.
Well, see, and that's what I was trying to tell you, that there's a dichotomy going. There is, it's weird that the stats are showing that it's picked up, which I think is true. And I was trying to tell you that, but we have some of the media is reporting that things are dire, but it just isn't bearing out, as your wife can attest to.
She is busy. I mean, she even went into the office early today to take care of business. So it's surprising to her and to me, because I follow what she does, that there are some people out there who just aren't doing well. Maybe the problem is they're just not finding the right customers, because there is a lot in the luxury side, but there's also a lot in the $200,000-$300,000 side.
Right. But yeah, I think the luxury side does obviously kind of tilt it's that more positive than it might be, but there still is, like you're pointing out, there seems to be enough to go around. I think there's just so many realtors, though. I mean, there's obviously, like I always say, it's like kind of like a game of musical chairs. I mean, somebody's not going to have a chair, and it's going to work out that way. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's just like we're seeing with the tourism picking up, the stats of they were saying the NABOR, the Naples Area Board of Realtors, is reporting that this was the best June that we had this summer in the last 5 years. So that was the stats, what someone was commenting on, what you're referring to, the story that I posted, that it was just a NABOR market report that they do every month. That their June was the best in 5 years.
Speaking of real estate, I see you have a profile of a 21-year-old guy who has just proven my point, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, he had a life-changing sale, and it was great to sit down with him at the Four Seasons Resort and chat with him a little bit about it. It's Mario Ferrillo. He's a realtor. He was with the Gauguin team when he made this sale at the Naples Beach Resort, the Four Seasons residences there, and it was they're not giving the exact amount yet. Eventually, I'll know, but because it hasn't been recorded yet, because it just closed on the 17th. But it's we're saying more than $23 million. So his commission is at least in the six figures. So for a 21-year-old to have this kind of, I don't know if it's fair to call it a windfall, because but it is a little bit unexpected. But he did work months for it, obviously, with a couple that from upstate New York that owns the Saratoga Springs. I guess it's like a horse show there, or horse track.
Yeah, the track is up there, Saratoga Springs.
Yeah. They own, what they call it. It's a 30-year farm, which they raise horses, obviously for speed, and they they just bought the Saratoga Springs. I don't know, the horse, whatever it is, I'm not sure, it's association, whatever. They just bought it though, like last fall, for $3.5 million, and here they've spent more than $23 million on their residence here in Naples. So
just a little pocket change.
Just a little, yeah. So, but it's one of those beachside residences. We reported a couple months ago that Phil McCabe, the local entrepreneur, that he was the first to close on a residence there, and he has one of the beach houses, which are a ground floor unit. They have 3 buildings that are on beachside, which have 58 units total. There's A, B, and C, and Phil McCabe, I believe, is in the A building, and this couple bought on the second floor of the B building.
Well, didn't Phil
And
buy a second condo as well?
yes, he also has one on the Gulf. There's also condos on the other side of Gulf Shore Boulevard on the golf course, and he also has one over there.
Man, oh man, things are crickets. They're just crickets out there, I tell you.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you, and obviously, it's kind of indicative of the mainstream media. A lot they report they want to go negative with these kinds of things for some reason. And again, I think what happens is with Naples that it is, and we've talked about it many times before, that it is in a bubble, not just with real estate, but many other aspects. And you can't take data that's happening in the United States and say that that's exactly happening here. Naples is different. That's why, and that's exactly why people are coming here too. So
we are kind of insulated in a way from the real economy.
Right. And I think a lot of the times, media wants to report this on a negative way and it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you've got to be careful of that, but people, as again, like your wife can attest to, things are hopping, things are moving. And sure, we're becoming more and more luxury all the time. There's no doubt about that. But there are still a lot of opportunities for people. And as Mario Ferrillo, notes that it's a lot of opportunity for young people, so he's set now. He had to hire a financial advisor. He's, thinking how he's going to invest back into his business. He joined a new brokerage firm where he can have his own, make all his commission, because he's still, this was still a great sale that benefited the Gogan team of eXp Realty as well, because they shared in that commission. So it was, it was a good thing for many people. It has the ripple effects throughout the community. So, but yeah, we'll be having news about more closings at the residences there at the new Naples Beach Resort and Naples Beach Club. And I'm hearing there could be some celebrities.
I was just going to ask you if we would recognize some of the names.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I have not been able to confirm any. We've heard all along that Michael Dell may have the penthouse in the A building, and of course Michael Dell is involved.
He's one of the owners.
Right, exactly. So he's one of the the money behind the Athens with the Athens group to develop redevelop the property. So that one I believe is probably true. But so far there's nothing recorded. If you go to callyourappraiser.com, you won't see. I haven't checked in a couple of days, but there wasn't anything recorded. So
occasionally they'll use a trust or an LLC to buy the property, so you won't really know who they are.
Exactly. So yeah. So, and like his company, I think it's MSD. I'm not sure what his middle initial is, but of those, it's under his initials.
Mm-hmm.
But that, could be that, or it could be something completely different. You're right. Where they do, and not necessarily to shield it from the public, but just because of liability reasons, it's safer to create another corporation sometimes.
The other thing I saw that I wanted to mention to you is that I saw an article recently that rents in Southwest Florida are seeing downward pressure, I guess because of a number of openings in rental properties around the area and not as many people looking to rent. So I said to my daughter who was renting, I said, you should check and see if your lease is almost up, maybe you can get a better deal. So she texted me that she went on and looked at the rental rates. I'm not going to say where she is, but she went on and looked at the rental rates, and she says they're higher than what she's paying right now.
Yeah, see, and and again, I go back to the daily paper again. Their headline was "Florida rent prices crash as vacancy surge," and I'm not seeing this crash, so I'm not sure what. Again, they're sensationalizing this story. Sure, we're seeing rent concessions. We have a couple of new apartment buildings right now that are nearing. They're almost completed. They're still under construction, though, out in the Golden Gate Estates. And one that I started following, I reached out to because I was interested in the rates. And now, unfortunately, I got on their mailing list, so I get tons of emails from them. It's
unsubscribe, my friend. Unsubscribe.
Well, I know I'll still look at it to see what they're offering, but it's Vintage Naples, and they're offering 2 months free. And this is the kind of thing you're seeing. So what you're seeing, like what your daughter knows, the rents themselves are not coming down, but they're offering incentives for people to sign on. So it's kind of like a BOGO at Publix. So you might get those 2 Mayos for $8, and the price, the Mayos are not going to be $4 from now on. It's just for that week. So it's the same with these rent issues. They're giving you an incentive. Because they also have like $100 fee to even apply some of these places. So sometimes they're waiving that, or they're, whatever. But I noticed that the rents themselves, even, you have to be careful because it's misleading. But I remember back when I was still in the apartment days, decades ago, that you had a rent. This was your rent. There were no hidden costs. You didn't have to pay extra for water or sewage or for a pet fee or whatever. Now they nickel and dime you with all these additional costs. You have to be very careful. So the price that they list you, this is like the starting price. And then if you have a pet or if you, whatever, they add all these extra costs on. So it's even higher sometimes than the price they're advertising.
Well, my daughter was telling me, for example, that they charge her for the water they use on the grass in the front of her building.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that
what?
never would have happened. That never would happen in years past. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's another way to get even more money. So you have to be very careful. So they're still up. The prices are still, I still thought it was high for, I think the 1 bedroom at this new so-called Vintage Naples was $1,800, which might seem like a bargain to some recent ones. And then, but it's a large place. They're going to have I think it's 400 units in this Vintage Naples.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's right at the Randall curve. So I think there's 5 or 6 different buildings.
Well, it's not like it's in the high rent district.
Exactly, and that's one reason why I wanted to see what they were going to be coming in as, because I thought that was, if anything, they would be more reasonable than something closer to the water. Because we're talking like this is, I don't know how many miles, 15, 20 miles from the shore. So, and I'll try to do a report on it when it opens to get an idea. But that's what they're offering right now is 2 months free. So they are. If you want to extrapolate that over a year, what that means, you are getting a discount initially, but again, the rents, when you go to look at what they are, like what your daughter's doing to maybe get a better deal, they're not really coming down. For the most part. They might be coming down slightly, but nothing where you're saying, wow, this is a good deal, because I don't think that's happening.
Which is surprising to me, because we do seem to have a huge supply of rental properties, and I'm not sure whether they're price fixing or whether they're using these algorithms that have been reported that they use. There's a company that basically provides renters with data that allows them to max the rent, which is really too bad, because workforce housing is needed, and we don't really, anything that we would call workforce housing would be considered luxury prices in Missouri. You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's just, again, the allure that people want to come here. I think that some of these, the developers or owners of these apartment buildings, some of them may have deeper pockets and they can hold on, and they know that there will be a demand for them. And they're willing to sit it out and wait. I don't know if that's the case, but I suspect that is for some of them. And there are, and we may see them come down more. Naples may be lagging behind that trend. We might see prices drop more. But right now, I don't think, I think they might be coming down a little bit, but they were so high that it doesn't, they still don't seem to me like it's the price that maybe it should be.
Understood. Well, what can we expect to find in your column on Friday?
Well, I have an update on the restaurant that's coming to, which I guess was called Restaurant Row, and I'm still not sure. Now I see that it might be called Triangle Shops, which is near the Freedom Square entrance there off of Collier Boulevard.
Which is called Triangle Boulevard, I believe.
Right, exactly. Triangle Boulevard, which loops all the way around to 41. And this is the space that's right next to the TD Bank. And I initially reported it was going to be the Maple Street Biscuit Company, which now just got gobbled up this month by another biscuit company. It was owned by Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was a Cracker Barrel restaurant.
Yeah, but now Cracker Barrel has sold it to this other, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say Big Biscuit, but that's not it. But it's something Biscuit. Belly Biscuit, which is a really strange name, Belly Biscuit. And so they bought right now, so all those Maple Street Biscuit companies will be converted to Belly Biscuit. But this one, and it was because of the Cracker Barrel fiasco they had last year, trying to change the logo and the decor. So there was a big, uproar about it. And now that I just saw that yesterday that the CEO has resigned from Cracker Barrel. So it had a big ripple effect throughout the company. And so one of the things they did, but they weren't going to develop further the Maple Street Biscuit Company. So they backed out of the Naples deal. And now coming to that location is another Broken Egg Cafe, which we had years ago up where the Clock restaurant used to be. That's where it initially was. But the pandemic put it to bed. So after about 5 years, another Broken Egg Cafe closed in 2020. So this is a resurgence of it, and it will be opening. They hope next month. It may be early September, but my column also reports that this is the first of what are 4 locations planned by this franchisee in Collier and Lee County. So I've got all the details in my column this week.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. And if people want to sign up, I guess they can go to GulfshoreBusiness.com or NaplesPress.com, click the sign up button and subscribe to all of it, including 2 emails a day. At 7 and 3?
That's right. Yep. Every weekday.
See, I feel like I work for you, Tim.
That's great, Dave. Yeah.
Happy to do it. Thank you for spending a half an hour with us this morning. It's been my pleasure, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Well, thank you. It's always my pleasure.
All right, Tim Aten from What Tim Aten Knows, and he knows a lot, I'm here to tell you. A break, and we'll be right back.
You've got Dave Elliott.
I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about your hearing, and especially if you are experiencing hearing problems or you've noticed recently that your hearing just isn't as acute as it used to be. Well, the folks at Naples Audiology and Hearing Center can take care of that for you. My friend, audiologist and owner Christine Peacock, and her entire staff are dedicated to one thing and one thing only. And no, it's not the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies you'll find every day when you walk in, but it's your hearing. If you wear cochlear implants, they can help you with that. If you wear hearing aids, they can help you tune them up or get them repaired if they're under warranty, or if you need to be replacing them, they can help you with that too. At Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, they are the experts. They've been around a long time, and it's not this one-size-fits-all thing with them because everybody's hearing concerns are unique. Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, online at napleshearingcenter.com, or call them at 239-434-2434 and tell them you heard about it on the Dave Elliott Show.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
He's reached that age where his brain goes, you probably shouldn't say that, to, I can't wait to see where this goes. Dave Elliott.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Mike. I appreciate it very much. Boy, what happened to my microphone here? It went kerflooey on me. Let me just see if I can fix that. I have all kinds of knobs and buttons that I can press, and I guess I can get it back this way. That sounds a little better, doesn't it? I would say. Not exactly where I want it to be. I had it set properly, and then I messed with it, and it went haywire on me. All right, well, that's pretty good. I wanted to tell you that SpaceX shares have extended their decline to a third straight trading day, marking the sharpest setback since the company's record public debut. Listen to this. The stock dropped 16% on Monday, yesterday, to close at $154.60, its lowest level since SpaceX's first day of trading. The decline pushed the three-day loss to 23% and erased more than, wait till you hear this number, this is how much value was lost by SpaceX over 3 days. $600 billion lost in value by SpaceX in 3 days. Even after the sell-off, SpaceX remains one of the world's largest public companies with a market cap of just above $2 trillion. So, $6 billion is still a lot, but it's not a lot in comparison with their total market cap was. The stock also remains about 15% above its $135 IPO price, showing the company is still trading above its debut valuation, despite the recent correction. This just shows you how fast things can change in a newly listed mega cap stock, especially one that entered public markets with a limited float, intense retail demand, and one of the most aggressive growth stories in the market, according to equity.com. $600 billion in value disappeared. Here's something interesting from studyfinds.com. We're going to be playing the impossible question. We haven't forgotten about it. Be ready. We're going to be playing it in just a minute. Results from a small clinical trial suggest it may be possible to reduce your risk of dementia by eating during fewer hours of the day. The pilot study, which involved a weight loss program for older women with overweight or obesity, showed modest cognitive improvements in those who limited their daily eating window instead of just reducing their calorie intake. So in other words, it's not how much caloric intake you have, but when during the day you eat it. Losing weight alone will ward off some of the aging-related cognitive decline, and these data suggest that there may be additional benefits if you stop eating 4 hours prior to going to sleep and reduce food intake to 8 to 9 hours a day compared to the usual eating window of 12 hours a day, according to Shu Shapsey, professor at Rutgers University. Her group will present the findings at Nutrition 2026, the flagship annual meeting of the American Society for Nutrition, underway now till today in National Harbor, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. So the key here is reduce calorie intake, stop eating about 4 hours before you go to bed, and that's supposed to be good for your mental health. All right, it's 8:41.
The impossible question on the Dave Elliott Show.
By now, you know the drill. We're going to ask you a question. You provide us with the answer, and you can do that by texting us at 305-699-2665. 305-699-COOL. If you think you know the answer. We're only taking text responses to today's question. Make sure you text me your first name and then the answer to the question. And the first person who comes up with it correctly, except for Frank, who was our first winner yesterday, he's not eligible because he already won, will receive a $25 gift certificate to my friends over at Alice Sweetwater's Neighborhood Bar and Grilly at the corner of Glades Boulevard and Airport Road, diagonally across from East Naples Home Depot. They have such great food there. Try the gazpacho at Alice Sweetwater's. All right. You're going to have to think a little bit about this one. What was the number one thing brides said they were nervous would go wrong on their wedding day? And I'm going to tell you right now, this has to do with the reception. Something that happens at the reception. What is the number one thing brides say they were nervous would go wrong on their wedding day? Text me at 305-699-2665, and let's see if you can get this one right. Something that happened at the reception. 305-699-2665. Get your text in. Remember to text me your first name and the answer to the question, by the way. I see one came in here. If I can get the thing to refresh. Wrong first dance song. No, sorry, that's not it. Wrong first dance song, Betty Ann says. Not correct. What is the number one thing brides say they were nervous would go wrong at their wedding day at the reception? From Marco, the DJ or the band not showing up. Sorry, that's not it either. 305-699-2665. 699-2665. Somebody else got it right. Sally K has the right answer and is hereby declared the smartest person in town. Congratulations, Sally K. Again, you get the winner's bell. You got it right. She knew the answer was the best man's toast. The best man's speech, she said. Sally K., you are the winner of What the Heck Is It? No, not What the Heck Is It? The Impossible Question. See, I can't keep it all straight. And Bobby just weighed in a little bit too late with the same answer, however. So, Sally K., you are the winner this morning, and I will be contacting you after the show to tell you how you can claim your tickets to Alice Sweetwater's. Thank you very much. You guys are smart. I had a feeling this was going to take a week and a half to get the answer to. But no, indeed, Sally Kay, smartest person in town today for answering the impossible question. And again, the number one thing brides say they were nervous would go wrong on their wedding day at the reception, the best man's speech or the best man's toast. Tomorrow on the show, we will be talking with our good buddy, former Naples City Councilman, publisher of Life in Naples magazine, Reg Buxton. My buddy Jim Watkins will be along to talk more. We'll probably talk a little bit about what's happening in the state and around the country as well. And we'll also be joined by Kathy Dugan, who will be with us tomorrow at 7:25. So I hope you can join us for those events. Now, 4 things you didn't know yesterday. Current species on Earth represent 1% of all life that ever lived here. Think about that. Of the current population, bugs, animals, people, anything that's living, 1% of all life that has ever lived here lives here now. The rest went extinct. And thank goodness the brontosaurus are no longer around. It's bad enough we have to see those cyber trucks on the road. 20.7 million people, another thing you didn't know yesterday, work for state and local governments in the United States as of May of this year. 20.7 million people out of 340 million? 20.7 million work for state and local governments in the United States. A third thing you didn't know yesterday. A typical adult has roughly 30 trillion human cells. You don't believe me? Count them. I'll wait. Oh, that's all I'm going to wait. And another thing you didn't know yesterday, Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who created and runs Facebook, makes about $1,100 per second. Mark Zuckerberg makes $1,100 per second. Mark, would you like to share a little bit of that with us, please? Just a little bit of that? It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. All right, other news this morning. You know who Andrew Tate is? One of the Tate brothers been arrested. He's in the special housing unit at whatever the prison is he's at. And here he put out apparently he's got a cell phone that he's not supposed to have in prison. And he is whining about his treatment in prison. I'll explain what his situation is in a minute. Here's what he wrote, though. I am in special housing unit, SHU. My water faucet is broken. I am not allowed bottles of water in SHU. I have nothing clean to drink. My only water comes from the shower, warm and from a brown and filthy faucet. It has given me persistent stomach problems. The water I am drinking is not clean. I am an American. Innocent until proven guilty, but I am forced to drink poisoned water. Where are my rights, he said. Now, he voted for, supported, or wanted to impose an administration that says detainees are owed less due process on other people. He campaigned for the president and still takes credit for the young male vote. That position has the consequences of unconvicted people sitting in solitary while politicians decide whether to ship them abroad. As a consequence of that position, solitary confinement and an extradition nobody in power will stop happened to Andrew Tate. In other words, he got what he helped support. He and his brother were arrested on the 18th of July in Miami on a UK extradition request covering rape, trafficking, and indecent images charges, all of which they deny. He's in the special housing unit posting about no commissary, no visits, no yard time, asking why an American who is innocent until proven guilty is there. Extradition needs the Secretary of State's sign-off, and on the 23rd last week, the White House and Rubio both passed. Turns out the due process discount apparently applies to cardholders too. So he is complaining and whining with his illegal cell phone in the special housing unit that the water tastes bad. Andrew, you get what you deserve, buddy. You get what you deserve. And how about this to wrap things up today? Why do some dreams feel so vivid that they seem almost real, while others unfold as confusing fragments that are difficult to remember or understand? Well, new research suggests the answer may depend on a combination of personality, sleep quality, mental habits, and major events unfolding in the outside world. A study led by researchers at the IMT School for Advanced Studies, LUCA, found that dreams are not simply random collections of images and thoughts. Instead, they appear to be shaped by both individual differences and shared experiences, including major social disruptions like COVID-19, for example. Thousands of dream reports reveal hidden patterns. The research, published in Communications Psychology, examined more than 3,700 descriptions of dreams and waking experiences from 287 people between the ages of 18 and 70. For 2 weeks, participants recorded their dreams and daily experiences. The researchers also collected information about each person's sleeping habits, personality, cognitive abilities, and psychological characteristics. The broad set of information allowed the team to compare what people experienced while awake with the stories, settings, and emotions that appeared in their dreams. When the researchers compared participants' descriptions of waking life with their dream reports, they found that the brain did not appear to reproduce daily experiences exactly as they happened. Instead, familiar details were transformed. The findings suggest that dreaming is not a simple replay system. The sleeping mind appears to reorganize pieces of reality, combining memories with imagination, expectations, and possible future experiences. The result can be a completely new scenario that feels immersive, totally intense, or surreal. So the brain is revising reality based on all kinds of influential thought processes that you may have. How's that for cool? Now you know how you can change the day simply by having your brain rewire a little bit when you dream. That's going to do it for today. I hope you've had a good morning. We will be back tomorrow with Reg Buxton, Kathy Dugan, and Jim Watkins, all right here on the Wednesday edition of the Dave Elliott Show. If you're going to experience rain and thunder and lightning where you are, please be careful and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.